After years of abuse, this child decided to document her own hell. And by the time the police showed up, she was able to show them the face of the devil she knew.
And I'm getting mighty tired of your trifling ways and of listening to that jackass Bray.
Today we're going to talk about why the state of Florida wants this nurse dead and why that may create conflict with the Supreme Court. This docket comes out of Lake County, Florida, just west of Orlando, known as the Boater's Paradise, and home to rolling hills and Sugarloaf Mountain in a state best known for its flat swampland. It's also home to Schubert Macarat, a nurse with a very dark and dangerous secret. For years, Macarat's secret remained hidden behind the ordinary routine of everyday life. To everyone who knew him, Macarat was a nurse, someone whose entire vocation is to care for others and ensure their well-being, who was at one time even a YouTube content creator. But to at least one child in his care, prosecutors say he was something entirely different, something that monsters are made of. And as the years passed, that child's fear eventually gave way to determination, and what had lived in silence was preserved frame by frame until investigators had a trail they could follow. And it all started with a phone call. You see, dispatchers received a call from someone stating her coworker told her about the molestation of a local minor child. And on March 22nd, police responded to that call at Macarat's home at about 11:45 p.m. that night. That was when police were presented with not one, but two videos of Macarat in the act. In the video footage, the responding officer alleges he saw the minor child laying on the bed when Macarat entered into the frame, putting on a condom, removing his shirt, and penetrating the minor child, who was actively crying. It was then police read Macarat his Miranda rights. And after acknowledging he understood his rights, he asked officers why he was being placed under arrest. Police answered his question with a question, and I'm paraphrasing. What would you say if I told you I had a video of you abusing a minor child? His answer, I would say I made a mistake. Macarat has been in custody ever since with no bond, awaiting trial as he pled guilty, not guilty, 47 times to the charges on which the grand jury returned an indictment. The evidence the child gathered would become just one piece of a much larger investigation. Detectives began interviewing witnesses, collecting records, comparing allegations against the physical and digital evidence, which included 4 terabytes of data that had more than 3,000 videos. Almost 1,000 were CSAM. Now, as the case came together, investigators concluded they had probable cause to arrest Schubert Macarat, setting in motion a prosecution that would ultimately result in almost 4 dozen felony charges.
47. That's the number of charges 41-year-old Schubert Macarat was indicted on, according to documents filed May 26th. The charges include a dozen counts of sexual battery upon a person under 12, 7 counts of sexual battery on a child by a person in familial or custodial authority, and multiple counts of possession of child pornography. That 47-count indictment comes just about 2 months after Macarat was initially arrested on just 2 charges: lewd or lascivious molestation of a victim under 12 and sexual battery.
Macarat allegedly began molesting the minor child at an early age. As with many cases of this nature, it started out with simple touching, but would become more and more inappropriate over time, escalating to him performing oral on the girl while the primary caregiver was at work. Not many specifics are known about the relationship between him and the minor child yet, other than familial or custodial authority. He could be a parent, a step-parent, or an uncle, as is common with these cases. We just don't know. What we do know is that based on the evidence the state has so far, prosecutors are seeking the death penalty. In a statement from ASA, Bill Gladson reads, in part, this kind of criminal depravity demands only one response from the state. We are seeking to prematurely end this defendant's life because the crimes he committed are so heinous that no other punishment is fitting. Now, this would be where true crime legal analysis aficionados' antenna go up. Why? Because in 2008, the U.S. Supreme Court decided in a 5-4 decision that imposing the death penalty for child rape is unconstitutional as it violates the Eighth Amendment's protection against cruel and unusual punishment, provided the victim did not die. You see, in 1998, Patrick Kennedy was convicted of aggravated rape of his 8-year-old stepdaughter in Louisiana. And Louisiana was one of a handful of states that authorized the death penalty for such things. And Kennedy was sentenced to death. But this appeal ultimately led to the United States Supreme Court's overturning that decision. But this is Florida. And Florida lawmakers passed House Bill 1297, signed into law May 2023, in direct conflict with the U.S. Supreme Court ruling by allowing prosecutors to seek the death penalty for sexual battery of a child under 12 because Florida believes in states' rights and their power to impose the ultimate penalty for the most heinous crimes against children. House Bill 1297 passed in the same session as a bill to lower the threshold for death penalty recommendations by Florida juries from unanimous to a vote of 8-4. Now, court docs appear to be littered with plea negotiation hearings, but Macarat has maintained his not guilty plea so far. So will the state offer Macarat a plea deal? Will he concede guilt if the death penalty is taken off the table? Or will he continue his not guilty stance and take it all the way to the Supreme Court? Nothing is for certain this early in the case, and his next hearing isn't scheduled till later in the month of August. So until then, I guess we'll just have to watch the docket.